when our economies were pre-capitalist and traditional, and in spite of life of our rigid tribal customs, we never tried to impose our ways of life on others. The tribes knew very well and respected the principle of live and let live. With the modern economy of producing for the market, our political movement developed more contempt for the parasite ideology of sectarianism, of religion, tribes, and gender chauvinism. Why? It is because we, the wealth creators of this area, produce milk, beef, bananas, fruits, oil seeds, coffee, cotton, etc. Normally, people of the same area produce similar products. Therefore, person A cannot sell to person B, his neighbor, because they are producing similar products. The traders in the towns are all shop owners selling many times similar products: soap, paraffin, textiles, etc. They also do not easily buy from one another. If you apply this test to my sub-community, the Banyankore of western and southwestern Uganda, you will find that indeed they produce milk, beef, bananas, coffee, tea, etc. But they do not buy from one another. See, the people of Kampala and other parts of Uganda that come to our salvation by buying our bananas, our milk, beef, etc. Coffee and tea are mainly exported through other parts of Uganda and East Africa to the international market. Therefore, if I was to play the opportunistic politics of identity of we as Banyankore, I would be first and foremost the enemy of the Banyankore, my tribe, before I became enemy of the rest of Uganda and Africa. Why? It is because I would be stepping in the plate of the Banyankore, Siani, Banyankore, Uganda, from which their prosperity comes. Without Uganda, the Banyankore would not be as prosperous as they are. What is true of the Banyankore is true of all the other communities of Uganda. Their respective prosperity is supported mainly by the purchasing power of the whole of Uganda. That is why, therefore, the first ideological principle of our political movement, the NRM, the National Resistance Movement, is patriotism. Love your fatherland, Uganda. Why? It is because you need it for your prosperity. Soon, however, the Ugandans were able to see what we, the freedom fighters, had been telling them since the 1950s and 1960s, and even earlier by some of our predecessors. This was that when Ugandans wake up and start to fully utilize their potential in the commercial agriculture, in the manufacturing, services and ICT, with the Chibaro, assessing the profitability and benefit, even the internal market of Uganda will not be enough. You need the East African and the African market. Hence, the second ideological principle of the National Resistance Movement, our political movement, is Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism. Love Africa. Love East Africa. Why? It is because you need them for your prosperity. Now, I would like Your Excellencies to take a very short time of yours to show you what I'm telling you about. Because our tribes here were like the tribes of other African countries. We are nomadic. But we changed them. We changed them. So I want, if you have those videos, quickly, the dairy sector. Haraka kama uko nazo. Where the tribes, instead of being cattle raiders, they have become dairy farmers. Are you asleep? Melala?
Amazina ninge George Matongo owangoma mungoma buntu hano gwataka shozi nandi kutaha umurimo gwanje ndi muri isa nteze maja kureba nuko itandikira tatakanda ngente bafuya talo bo hagwa kidan meirisa zakanya nagura mataka nyose nazo zankorera ibintu kwenda zashubikiza abana bihereze naturiho kabanza mu nyankore
show the factories of milk.
On our farm, we collect over 900 liters of milk per day, and a liter costs 800 shillings, which is approximately 21 million per month.
Viwanda, amakorero,
Amazina ninge George Matongo owangoma mungoma buntu hano gwataka shozi nandi kutaha umurimo gwanje ndi muri isa nteze maja kureba nuko itandikira tatakanda ngente.
This is where our model plantation is. Plantation, which you've heard, we've already gone beyond 50 tons of yield per hectare per year. Matoke is very important part is water, but especially in the dry season. So here we are using irrigation, drip irrigation, as you can really see, using water, especially in the dry season. Drip irrigation, the advantage with it is that it sends water where it is required. PBD does not depend on national water. We make our own water, which we pump every day. 90% of the water is used for irrigation, and the other 10% is processed for use in pilot plant and estate residential areas. This swamp, as per NEMA allows us to use a third of the water flow. But in the dry season, we even just use 12% of the water flow. So there is still enough water which we can pump. We've already finished the feasibility study to distribute the same irrigation water to the farmers, mainly along the water pipeline. So the structures you are...
Thank you. So the point here I'm making, Your Excellency,
it's our water in the western region is full of iron.
The tribes.
So we always reduce.
Somalia, the tribes of northern Kenya, the Turkanas, the tribes of other parts of Africa. They were nomadic. And they were in the pre-money economy, pre-capitalist. No money. So we had to mobilize them to become sedentary, settle down, stop moving up and down, and become dairy farmers of milk, of beef, of those bananas you see. And the ideological point is that when they produce, they don't buy from one another. We don't have time, but the market is actually in Kampala, not in their tribal area. So if you bring this business of clans and tribes, and how would they have a modern economy? How? Because if you produce and sell, the one who buys from you is a friend, is helping you, is giving you prosperity in your pocket. But now you are killing your potential customers who could buy from you because they are from another tribe. This is a crime. This is a crime. You cannot go and continue being polite about this meeting, excellence, madame, mademoiselle, which I normally hear in Addis Ababa. The third principle is the need for socio-economic transformation of our indigenous social structures of pre-capitalism into modern social structures of the middle class and skilled working class, while preserving the positive rational elements of our societies, such as food, marriage customs, wealth, etc. The fourth principle is democracy. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. Uganda is more democratic than many of the opinionated countries of the world because we have broader representation for youth, women, people with disability, workers, soldiers, elders, and the usual constituency members of parliament found in some of the other countries. Uganda had become a failed state with the collapse of all the pillars of state, the army, police, civil service, etc. Then the collapse of the small money economy and the collapse of peace ever since 1966. It was this ideological reorientation that enabled us to build a viable, non-sectarian, national political movement, to build a national army, a national police force, and other pillars of state. It is on account of this medicine of the four principles of patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy that saved Uganda from the collapse of 20 years, 1966 to 1986, that we were forced to advise our brother General Bashir of the Sudan regarding the poison of the politics of identity, of Sharia law, and Arabism that they were promoting in that great Afro-Arab country of many cultures and religions. I told Bashir that my list of haram was much longer than his, because people from the Middle East and other places waste our time. Haram, 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 haram. My list of haram is much longer than all those people. As somebody from the cattle culture, of the savanna areas of the Great Lakes, I do not eat fish. Fish to me is haram. This is how I get a problem when they invite me. Oh, they want me to eat their food. I don't eat those foods. I want to go with my food. Chicken is haram to me. Eggs, mutton, goat, pigs, wild animals, etc., because they are evhagaro, in my language, abominations. However, even in the times of pre-colonialism, the cultures of the Great Lakes adhere to the principle of live and let live. Hence, although the Banyankole did not eat chicken or eggs, our neighbors, the Baganda, the ones of this area, or the Baziba of Tanzania, would get free gifts of chicken and eggs when they would visit their Banyankole friends, our Nyamkago. Banyankole were keeping chicken for the ancient religion of divination, killing animals, seeing how the intestines are arranged, and therefore knowing what God wanted. Okuragura, it's called Okuragura. The Baganda, Baziba, or Bakochi could moreover catch the Nshonzi, mud fish in the nearby swamp without any hindrance. It is this live and let live culture that enabled this area for more than 1,000 years to develop a trade-connected area, TCA, that enabled the East African coast, Dar es Salaam, and so on, Zanzibar, the Savannah Plateau of Tanzania, the Great Lakes areas inland, and the Congo forest to exchange goods and services such as textiles, imienda, guns and gunpowder, embundu and uganga, ghee, amashta, omzugo, skins and hides, empu, emuguta, emiringa, copper bracelets from the Congo, engoro, ivory bangles from Congo, amoshe, graph hair neck wear, wood products, salt, omonyo, etc. So, because of this live and let live culture, even before colonialism, the tribes could live peacefully without this one trying to impose their culture on the other one. And that's how we had this trade long before the Europeans came here. It is not correct to allow Africans, again, to be diverted by this disorientation of the politics of identity, especially if it is done by force. We always share this with our Somali brothers and sisters. The clan polarization some actors push is poisonous and should be discouraged. If there are enough patriots in Somalia, the forces of progress in the world should support them. Those who insist on clan and sectarian organization, whether out of greed, parasitism, or ignorance, are mortal enemies of the future of the African race. How could they insist on clan and sectarian organization when our enemies were coming as empires? Because those who are colonizing us were not coming as clans. They will come as empire. You know them, those empires who are colonizing us. They come as empires. For you are with clans. How would you defend yourself? Yet, the people they are dividing are either similar or linked people. Because the people you are dividing into clans are actually the same people. Coming to the concept of army building, in the context of a collapsed state, We have always advised the Somalis about the concept of a volunteer army for national salvation, not a paid army. This is because a collapsed or a hijacked state will not have capacity to pay monthly salaries for a large enough number of soldiers to secure a large country like Somalia, which is 3 times the size of Uganda in land area. A continued small Somali national army in terms of numbers, plus a small AUSSOM force from friends, is a very dangerous underdose that has caused the chronic sickness of insecurity of Somalia. In fact, Al-Shabaab is a very weak force. Otherwise, all this time and space you have given them, by this time they would be very strong if they had a healthy embryo that could grow. This is my opinion. I used a small corps of 28 highly trained cadres who were trained for us by Samora Machel of Mozambique between 1976 and 1978 in Mozambique to train a force of 9,000 in just 5 months between the Kampala. People with a good cause of justice can use a little support to build quickly and affordably a big force. Mwalimu, who was supporting us, could not afford and had no good reason to do so, to pay us monthly salaries. However, he was able to give us a rifle per fighter, maybe 2 uniforms per person per year, food and medicine when sick. We had a volunteer non-salaried army for 17 years, 1971 to 1987, and thereafter, until only 3 years ago, we had a lowly paid army where a general would be paid Uganda shillings 2 million, which was like $522. That's how we have been able to afford a big army, an army that is able to defend Uganda and even contribute to other friends. However, we handled the welfare needs of the fighters by buying food, giving free education for their children in the army, government schools, free medical care, soft loans for their spouses to do economic projects. That is how we have been able to build a strong and adequate army, even when our economy was very small. It is only recently that we started paying some levels of the army better salaries. We could, however, only do this because we were all getting low salaries. We were all getting low salaries. Even now, I get a very low salary, even today. So nobody can say, give me more money because you are getting more money. Therefore, Somalia and its supporters needs to end the underdosing of the problem. We need enough and better equipped Somali soldiers, or enough external and better equipped soldiers, or both. With funding, Uganda can provide many more soldiers. I thank all the attendants. Thank you very much. I invite His Excellency, President Hassan.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. His Excellency, Yoweri Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Professor Kithure Kindiki, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, Prime Minister of the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, and His Excellency Engineer Aisha Muhammad Musa, Representative of Prime Minister of Ethiopia and the Minister of Defense of Ethiopia, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Dr. Wakana Gabriel, Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, our international and regional partners, present distinguished delegates, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by thanking His Excellency President Museveni for the warm welcome and hospitality accorded to me and my delegation. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here today and address you on behalf of Somalia. I would also like to express my deep appreciation to the troop contributing countries of the African Transmission Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia, AUSSOM, and all our partners for their unwavering commitment and support in the fight against terrorism. Together, we have accomplished great success, and much more needs to be done in eradicating al-Shabaab from Somalia and from the region. Our pursuit of a peaceful and stable future remains to be a top priority, and the role played by our countries have been indispensable in providing us with your time, resources, and your very lives. We honor your sacrifices, and we assure you that it is not in vain. In 2007, the African Union Mission in Somalia, AMISOM, was born out of necessity during a period of heightened conflict and has been vital in degrading al-Shabaab, expanding the humanitarian access, supporting political transition, training Somali security forces, and saving many, many lives in Somalia. Without doubt, Somalia will not have made the progress it has in building institutions, increasing economic activity, and establishing the rule of law without the work of our brave and less equipped Somali National Army, the African Union troop contributing countries, and our international partners. Excellencies, with our collective effort towards securing Somalia, we have been able to have the space to further our state-building efforts from the onset. My administration prioritized rebuilding trust between the federal government and the federal member states of Somalia. Through continuous dialogue, we have been able to reach consensus on many contentious issues, including the most contentious chapters of the Constitution, such as power sharing, fiscal federalism, national security architecture, and the electoral model. The most notable achievement is the ongoing voter registration exercise in Somalia after almost 60 years. This phased and auditable exercise aims to register approximately 5 million citizens and marks a turning point in strengthening the transparency and the legitimacy of Somalia's democratic process. In addition, early this month, I have called on the Somali political elite, the civil society organizations, and other key stakeholders to rise above divisions, confront the security threat we face, and to build a nation that truly reflects our vision of a democratic, stable, and prosperous Somalia that is at peace with itself and with the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, since the birth of AUSSOM, the ongoing efforts to implement the Phase 1 of the strategic concept of Operation CONOPS continues to remain vital. We are now at a critical juncture of accelerating our efforts to eradicate al-Shabaab and bring an end to their destabilizing activities in Somalia and across the region. The offensive operations led by the Somali National Army Forces with the support of the Community Defense Forces, AU forces, and our partners have borne fruits, and we are committed to continue the pursuit of the enemy. The recent operations against ISIS is also a testament to Somalia's commitment to eradicate terrorism. Somalia is facing a dual challenge of one from Al-Shabaab in the central and southern Somalia, and the ISIS in the northeastern regions of Somalia. Excellencies, we are working tirelessly to build a well-trained, equipped, united armed forces to transition security responsibility. However, we are facing immense challenges in the fighting against terrorism, while at the same time we are building our security apparatus. Though the gains we have made together are significant, we are not without challenges. We need to build the capability of Somali National Armed Forces and build a sustainable and affordable security forces in Somalia. We also recognize the financial gaps of the ATMIS and the lack of clarity on the AUSSOM funding. The independent strategic review remains crucial as the AUSSOM mission financing remains to be fully determined. There needs to be an honest discussion on the mission financing. We need to jointly work together with the AU in finding a clear pathway and develop a roadmap for mission financing. Ladies and gentlemen, together we must sustain the gains made against Al-Shabaab, and this will require enhanced support from our partners as we make this push to eradicate terror group out of Somalia. We've made progress in the implementation of our Somalia Security Development Plan since we launched the plan in New York in December 2023. We are also determined to work with all the stakeholders to achieve the key benchmarks set out in that plan. Its implementation is a cornerstone to the exit strategy of AUSSOM in the near future. The federal government of Somalia is committed to work closely with the TCCs and the African Union Commission on the establishment of the peer review, oversight and accountability mechanism at the heads of state and government level, chaired by His Excellency Yoweri Museveni. The federal government of Somalia emphasizes that this mechanism will support the mutual accountability framework and the implementation of the AUSSOM CONOPS and the SSDB. As we move this final push to eradicate Al-Shabaab from Somalia and the region, we must remain steadfast in our effort and work together with a renewed determination. We urge all our partners to support this initiative. The success of this initiative will not only benefit Somalia, but also contribute to the peace and stability of the region and the world at large. I urge all our partners to continue their unwavering support and commitment to Somalia, and also to support us in this critical juncture. Let us work together towards a shared vision of a stable and prosperous Somalia where all citizens can live in peace and prosperity. Sustained commitment to peacekeeping missions is essential. Somalia is a success story for the African Union mission, and the critical role of the United Nations logistics support has been effective, especially in protecting civilians and stabilizing our regions. Once again, I thank His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, the people of Uganda, their warm welcome and hospitality, and I look forward to continued cooperation and collaboration with all partners. I thank you all. Thank
you. Of the African Union.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, the President of the Republic of Somalia, Your Excellency the Deputy President of Kenya, Your Excellency the Prime Minister of Egypt, Your Excellency the Prime Minister of Djibouti, Your Excellency the Minister of Defense of Ethiopia, Your Excellencies Ministers, Your Excellency the Executive Secretary of IGAD, Your Excellency the Special Representative of the United Nations, dear ambassadors representing the partners, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the African Union Commission, I would like to thank His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the government and the people of Uganda for the warm welcome and for convening this timely meeting on Somalia. Let me start by paying tribute to all troop contributing countries and for the sacrifice made for the sake of peace and stability in Somalia. I also praise the memory of our fallen soldiers and wish quick recovery to those who are wounded. Your Excellencies, the troop reconfiguration of ATMIS to AUSSOM has been successfully conducted. The adoption of Resolution 2719, thanks to the African A3 members of the UN Security Council and the African Union Commission, is also a milestone event. However, there are still reluctances to implement Resolution 2719 to Somalia. It will take a collective effort to mobilize financial resources up to $190 million for the 2 phases of ATMIS AUSSOM during the course of 2025. Your Excellencies, the gain of territories against the terrorist group Al-Shabaab have to be recognized, although some setbacks have been reported recently. However, it is paramount to consolidate those gains in making AUSSOM fully operational. In the same vein, the federal government of Somalia should speed up the fourth generation process for more sustainable frontline positions of the Somali security forces. The Commission also urged the federal government of Somalia to pursue its political efforts in the state institution building processes. This will certainly include a greater inclusivity at the level of the National Consultation Council with the participation of all federal states. And we recognize here that His Excellency President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud has convened a meeting early May to invite all federal states to come and start dialogue with him and with the federal government. We congratulate President Hassan Sheikh for that. Your Excellency, Somalia has been at the top of the African Union peace agenda close to 20 years now. Despite the financial challenges, the African Union will continue to support peace and stability in Somalia. We cannot afford losing the gains made so far and all the sacrifices made by our sons and daughters. The African Union Commission is engaging all partners, and in particular, our member countries of the African Union, to ease the constraints on the peace funds so that more resources be available to avoid any failure in the transition process from ATMIS to AUSSOM. The Commission will request from troop contributing countries to convince other member countries of the African Union of the necessity to rely on domestic resources in these troubled times. Your Excellencies, let me conclude by reaffirming the full commitment of the African Union Commission to support the African Union Peace Mission in Somalia out of solidarity with the government and the people of Somalia. And finally, I would like to thank our partners who have been supporting the African Union mission from the very beginning: the United Nations, the European Union, the United States, and so many others. I thank you.
Your Excellencies, I will now read the communique of the Extraordinary Summit of the Troop Contributing Countries to the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia and the Federal Government of Somalia. At the invitation of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, the Summit of Heads of State and Government of Troop Contributing Countries to the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia was held on the 25th of April 2025 under the chairmanship of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The summit was attended by His Excellency Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, President of the Federal Government of Somalia, His Excellency Professor Kithure Kindiki, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Abdul Kader Kamil Mohammed, Prime Minister of the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Dr. Mustafa Maldubli, Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, and Her Excellency Aisha Mohammed Musa, Minister of Defense of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. The summit was also attended by His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Dr. Wokni Jebeyehu, Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, His Excellency James Swan, Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General and the Head of the United Nations Transition Mission in Somalia, Her Excellency Ms. Aisa Kachira Kirabo, Assistant Secretary General and Head of the United Nations Support Office in Somalia, and also in attendance were Their Excellencies, the ambassadors in Uganda of the European Union delegation, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. The purpose of the summit was to discuss the prevailing security situation in Somalia, and during the summit, the heads of state received a report of the ministerial meeting, that is for Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Defense, on the review and proposed way forward on the security situation and performance of AUSSOM sector by sector, update on the Somali security forces, state of preparedness and progress in force generation, integration and mentorship, status of handed over forward operating bases, the AUSSOM exit plan, funding of AUSSOM, and TCCs, plus Somalia peer review mechanism for oversight, accountability, coordination, monitoring and evaluation for AUSSOM, and the Somali Security Development Plan. The summit was preceded by the ministerial and senior officials meeting from the 22nd to the 24th of April 2025 at Misiri Hotel, Kampala, where a ministerial report was adopted and presented to the heads of state and government. The summit noted with appreciation the progress made by the leadership of the federal government of Somalia, which includes joining the East African Community, becoming a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, lifting of the arms embargo, implementing financial reforms necessary for economic growth, as well as preparation for the next election, where they have embarked on registration of voters. Directed the chiefs of defense forces of the TCCs plus Somalia to work out a comprehensive plan to deter, degrade, and eliminate Al-Shabaab. Underscored the importance to increase the AUSSOM troops on a bilateral basis in the short run to address the prevailing security situation in Somalia so as not to roll back the hard-earned gains made so far. Reaffirmed their commitment to continue to support the federal government of Somalia in its stabilization efforts in the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Stressed the need to increase air assets, capabilities, and intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance as force multipliers, and further underscored the importance of using all available assets in a coordinated manner. Underlined the need to ensure proper fortification of forward operating bases in the AUSSOM sectors. Encouraged the federal government of Somalia to strengthen civil-military coordination, prioritizing humanitarian relief and quick impact stabilization projects in recovered territories to consolidate security gains and foster enduring community trust. Took note of the federal government of Somalia's efforts to strengthen its relationship with the federal member states through the National Consultative Council mechanism. Reaffirmed the need to establish mechanisms for countering extremist narratives, to counter Al-Shabaab propaganda by promoting interests as opposed to identity. Stressed the importance of recruiting community, local defense forces, and mobile forces to hold and consolidate areas that were liberated. Underscored the need to finalize the African Union and United Nations procedures to expedite the deployment of the Egyptian troops. Stressed the importance of addressing operational shortfalls through provision of adequate, sustainable, and predictable funding and rapid force generation to fill identified capability gaps, ensuring mission effectiveness and boosting morale among deployed personnel. Reiterated that the best solution to adequate, predictable, and sustainable funding is the application of the UN Security Council Resolution 2719 of 2023 on Somalia. Welcomed the role of the traditional and non-traditional partners to support the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia and the federal government of Somalia. Agreed to submit the decisions of the recommendations of this extraordinary summit of the troop contributing countries to the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia and the federal government of Somalia to the African Union Peace and Security Council for endorsement and onward transmission to the United Nations Security Council as a working document, and commended His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, for convening this extraordinary summit and expressed appreciation for the excellent facilities extended by the government of the Republic of Uganda to all delegations. Done at Entebbe State House on the 25th of April, 2025, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, President of the Federal Government of Somalia, His Excellency Professor Kithure Kindiki, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Abdul Kadir Kamil Mohammed, Prime Minister of the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Dr. Mustafa Madubli, Prime Minister of the Arab Republic of Egypt, and Her Excellency Engineer Aisha Mohammed Musa, Minister of Defense of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Your Excellencies, I beg to submit for your consideration.
Thank you. Any comment on the communique? Any comment? Adopté. Merci beaucoup. I congratulate you on coming to this meeting. We must really help our brothers of Somalia to get out of this endemic problem. It is solidarity which has helped Africa to come up to where we were. Here in Uganda, we had the problem of Idi Amin, and we were assisted by our brothers in Tanzania and Zambia and Mozambique. Our African brothers in Southern Africa were assisted by the frontline states and the international community. So we need to assist Somalia to get out of these problems. I thank the partners, but as you heard, we need more money. So with these few words, I close the meeting. Thank you very much. Uganda, there is a commissioner of the African Union from Nigeria called Bankole. And his name is to do with the verb in our dialects, okukora, okukora emirimo, or bankore. We should work hard. That's what his name means. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Your Excellency requests that the communique is signed. It is ready for signing.
Why?
The last activity.
overload. Tell me to organize donation.
Isha.
Hello?
You are here?
Yes.
You are a bit. Where are you now? Who's the? I am with you. Yes, the fish. Okay, welcome. تعرف لي واحد
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. His Excellency the President will move with the heads of delegation back to the holding room, our credentials room, and that will be part from there. Thank you.